Most people spend decades preparing for retirement. They save diligently, invest smartly, and maybe even fantasize about what they'll do with all that free time. But here's the problem. Very few people actually stop to ask, am I actually ready to retire? Not just financially, but emotionally, physically, mentally, socially. Because retiring too early, that can wreck your finances. But waiting too long, that could cost you your health, your relationships, and time that you can't get back. I've worked with hundreds of business leaders and executives navigating this exact decision. And in this video, I want to walk you through 6 questions that I believe that every professional should answer before they even think about handing in their notice. If you say yes to all 6, well then you just might be ready to live the life that you've worked so hard for. Let's dive in. Question 1. Have you been deferring your life? Here's what I see all the time. Someone who's crushed it in their career, made great money, climbed the ladder, but keeps putting joy on hold. They say, one day I'll travel, or after I retire, that's when I'll finally slow down. But there's a brutal truth here. Someday isn't a day on the calendar. And as someone once told me, a bucket list is where dreams go to die. Now I know that's harsh, but it oftentimes can be very true. If you've built a life of either or, either I work hard now or I enjoy life later, well, I want you to rethink that. Because here's the catch. What if later doesn't actually come? If you've been deferring the life you actually want to live, this is your wake-up call. You've earned the right to live an and life, work with purpose, and live with intention. And if that's not happening right now, this may be your sign. Question 2. Is your health suffering? Decades of early mornings, late nights, and cross-country flights with a carry-on, it adds up. And it's not just physical pain. It's sleep, stress, anxiety, inflammation, the slow erosion of vitality. And the truth is, when you're in your prime earning years, it's easy to say, I'll deal with it later. But if your health is in decline, even subtly, ask yourself this. What's the real cost of one more year at full tilt? Time and energy are non-renewable. And if you're sacrificing both in the name of work, it may be time to invest in the portfolio that matters most, you. Question number 3. Is it possible to work less? Here's something I often talk about with my clients. Not everybody wants to fully retire. Some just want freedom to do work they enjoy at a pace that they control. But the corporate world doesn't always make that easy. So what are your options? A phased retirement, which is somewhat rare but could be ideal. Part-time work or consulting, which is becoming more and more prominent and could be worth exploring. Or staying put but establishing boundaries, which might mean not logging in at 9 p.m. just to prove your value. Look, I'm not saying mail it in, but if you've spent decades overcommitting, overextending, and overcompensating, you might already be in the red. And if there's no off-ramp where you are, it may be time to build your own. Question 4. Do you wish that you had more time for loved ones? You can have anything, but you can't have everything. Every hour at work is an hour not spent with your kids, your spouse, your parents, or your friends. If you've found yourself missing important events, feeling guilty about being always on, or losing connections with people who matter to you, then I want you to sit with this. Time with loved ones doesn't come back around. And retirement isn't just about financial freedom. It's about relational freedom. And if you're not making time for those relationships now, you may be sacrificing something that money can't buy back. Question 5. Do you know what you're gonna do in retirement? I've had dozens of conversations where a client says, I can't wait to be done. No more meetings, no more early flights, no more performance reviews. And I get it, that grind wears you down. But then I ask, what are you retiring to? And then the room goes quiet. Because here's the truth. Many people spend their careers sprinting toward the finish line. And when they finally cross it, they look around and say, now what? No more calendar, no title, no urgency. For some people, that can be liberating. And for others, it's unsettling. If you don't have a plan for how you'll spend your days, not just ideas, but something meaningful that lights you up, retirement can start to feel aimless. Freedom is great, but without purpose, it can feel like you've stepped off a cliff. So if you're not clear on what this important next chapter looks like, don't rush it. Take the time to design it. And lastly, question 6, have you run the numbers? This one's simple, but so many people skip it. Have you actually mapped out your income plan, your spending pattern, and how that will change in the different phases of retirement, taxes, healthcare, and potential long-term care? How long will your assets last? And have you modeled for market volatility? If not, don't even think about retiring. Now you have 2 options here. First, you can do it yourself. There are some great tools out there, and this channel has resources that can help. Or you can work with a professional, someone who understands stuff like tax planning, income sequencing, and withdrawal strategies. And yes, if that's something you want help with, we do all of that at Tailored Wealth, and you can check out our site in the description. But whatever you do, don't go from paycheck to panic because you didn't pencil it out. So, how did you answer those 6 questions? If you went 6 for 6, you might be ready to retire not just with confidence, but with clarity, health, and purpose. But if even one gave you a pause, don't ignore that. This isn't about fear, it's about freedom. Because retirement isn't the end of something, it's the beginning of the life that you've spent decades building. The only question is, are you stepping into the next chapter with a plan or just a hope? And if you found this helpful, hit subscribe. We've got more no-fluff guides to help you make smart, confident moves for the future. Take the next step. You've earned it.